Three Genius Babies. Chapter 1. Honey, I'm pregnant. As Sarah opened the door to share her husband the good news, she heard ambiguous sounds coming from their bedroom. I love you too. The two of them were confessing their love to each other while moaning. Sarah was frozen still and her face turned pale. After a moment, she took a step forward and pushed the door open with her teeth clenched. Sarah saw the strong back of her husband Antonio and him holding Lisa Randall, her half-sister, within his arms. Antonio, now that we have a child, when are you going to divorce Sarah? Antonio remained silent. Lisa giggled as she casually drew circles on his chest.
What are you going to do if Sarah also gets pregnant?
A cold voice came from the man. I'll ask her to abort it. These words struck Sarah like a bolt of lightning, causing her to gasp in shock. She involuntarily dropped the pregnancy test report to the floor, her hand rushing to cover her mouth. She took a step back, her heart pounding, as she surveyed the grimy room around her. How could he treat her this way? Had he been deceiving her throughout their 3 years of marriage? Now, it wasn't enough for Antonio to have a child with someone else. He wanted her to abort hers. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she turned away without a second glance. Swiftly picking up the test report before fleeing the room. In the adjacent bedroom, Lisa perked up, hearing the panicked footsteps and the slamming of doors. She languidly rose from the bed, her lips pursed in amusement, and pushed Antonio off the bed. It hit the floor with a resounding thud. Upon closer inspection, he wasn't a real man, but rather a rubber imitation. Lisa straightened her silk suspenders and nonchalantly kicked the rubber figure aside before tossing a recording pen into the trash can. She had successfully deceived Sarah, and it had all been worth the effort. Sarah sped down the road in her car, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and shock. She never could have imagined that the man she had loved for years would treat her in this way. The vile sounds and conversations between those two people replayed in her mind, causing her to tremble involuntarily. She clenched her teeth and dialed Antonio's number. Regardless of everything, she needed to hear from him personally why he had done this to her. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office at Valencia Inc., Antonio sat at his desk, his face contorted with anger, holding a stack of incriminating photos. These pictures depicted intimate scenes between Sarah and another man. He gripped the photos tightly with white-knuckled hands when his phone rang. Seeing Sarah's name on the caller ID only intensified his displeasure. How dare she call him after betraying him? Answering the call, he was met with Sarah's tearful voice, frantically asking, "Antonio, is Lisa's child yours?" Antonio paused for a moment before sneering. So what if it is? She had betrayed him and now she was fabricating lies to question him. "Antonio, I hate you." Sarah's voice sounded distant and broken, making Antonio feel annoyed. He loosened his tie and asked,
Where are you? Does it even matter where I am to you?
Despair engulfed Sarah as she uttered those words, a feeling she had never known before. Antonio was left puzzled by her tone. Did she really think he had done something wrong? He demanded clarification, but before Sarah could respond, a truck veered diagonally towards her. She desperately tried to brake, but the brakes had failed. Hearing Sarah's terrified scream, Antonio's heart trembled. Sarah had no time to say anything else and instinctively swerved to the right. The car crashed through the guardrail and tumbled down the cliff. Bang! The sound of the car crashing echoed through the phone before silence enveloped the call. Antonio was stunned at first, then suddenly jumped to his feet, shouting, "Sarah!" But there was no response from her end anymore. Please click subscribe to unlock more chapters.